Now that we've created the API route to get all users and their post, the next thing we can do right now is to actually uh, create a user from our API. So we just need to create the method and the route. So let's just go ahead and create the route first. And right here, we want to use a post request, and this will be user. We can actually group this, but I don't want to group it right now. We can actually use a route group method, but I don't want to use that right now. So right here, we can just say user controller, and this will be class. And right here, we want to use the store method. So this is all we need to do. And right here, let's just change this to, let's say, register. Yeah, this looks much better now. So right here in our store method, we're just going to put all those right there. So let's just return $ request all. So this is just to demonstrate to you. And if we go over to our postman and we try to send a post request to this route, let's just see our name. Let's see email. And let's see password. And this will be password. So let's just try and send this, and let's see what the result will be. Remember, we don't have this route, so this is register. And let's try this now. You can see all those request parameter right here. So let's just go ahead and validate these users. And I'm going to show you another way to actually validate this, and that's actually making the request class. So let's just go ahead and do that. PHP artisan make request, and this will be store user request. So we've created this request now, and right here in our HTTP, you're going to see those requests there, and you can see the request class right here. So the first thing you need to do is change this to true. This is true. So the next thing you can now do is to actually bring out your rules right here. So this will be user. This will be name, and we want the name to be required, and we also want it to be a string, and we want it to have a maximum value of, let's say, 255. And we also want the email to be required, it to be a string, and we want it to be unique to the users table. And that's all we need to do for the email. And the next thing we need to do is actually the password. I want the password to be required. We want it to be an alpha numeric. So what this means is we want the password to be a combination of letters and numbers. I want it to have a minimum value of 7 characters. So hopefully this makes sense to you. And another thing we can do is to actually bring out the custom messages. So let's just go ahead and say messages. This will be messages right here. So right here we want to return name dot required, and right here we want it to be please enter a name dot string, and this will be name must be a string, and right here name dot max, and this will be maximum value of name is it dead, and that's for name. So for email dot required, and this will be please enter an email address, and this email type should be email not string. So this is email dot email, and this will be please enter a valid email address. So hopefully all this makes sense to you. And the next thing we can do for email is email dot unique, and this will be email address already taken. So hopefully this makes sense. Then we can go for the password, and password this will be please enter a password, and the next one is password dot alpha number. Password must have a letter and a number. So this should be password dot required, and this right here will be password dot, and this will be password must be password length. It should be length must be greater than 7 letters. So this is all for messages, and we have the rules right here. We have the messages. So let's just go ahead and fix this. So right here we're not going to use the request directly. So we're going to use the store user request, and this is what we need to do, and this will now validate our input right now. So let's just go ahead, and there is something we need to do before we actually test this out, and that's because by default the validation class redirects your users back to the to the initial page that initiates the request. So what I mean by this is if we try to send this request now, we're going to get an error because we don't have the right input. We have the right input now. We don't have if we should remove the password, we don't have the right input now, and this is going to validate against request, and this is going to return the errors to be true. And when returning the errors to be true, Laravel is going to redirect you back to the page where you initiate the request. So we're using our API for this application. We don't want to be redirected back. We just want, if we're getting an error, we just want to return those errors. So what we can do is to actually add a protected class in our store request, user store request. We need to add a protected class here that is going to just return the user's input errors. So let's just do that right now. Right here, we're going to do a protected method, and this will be called fade validation. And this will have the validator class. And right here, we're going to throw a new exception. So this will be a new HTTP response exception. And right here, we want to do a response.json. And this will be get messages. And right here, we want to throw a 422 error. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and this is all we need to do. And right now, if you should try to actually send this, so we're still getting an error, line 53. It's probably a syntax error. So let's just see that. And right here, we didn't put a semicolon here. So let's try this again. So you can see, please enter a password. And this is actually what we actually need. So if right here, if we should switch this off, and let's just see those errors. You can see them right here. So let's just try this and say, yeah. So this is what we actually need. And yeah. So let's just go ahead and save this user right now. So if we should come over here, and let's just say $user is equal to new user, and we can say $user name is equal to $request name, $user email is equal to $request email, $user password. And right here, we're going to encrypt the password. We're going to use the bcrypt, and this will be $request. This will be request password. So hopefully this makes sense to you. So we can just make sure this looks better. So right here, we can just save the user. So before then, we can actually assign a token to this user, because whenever we want to make a request to a protected route, which means the user must be logged in to actually access that route. We want to use this token to authenticate the user. And we might not assign the token here, but when the user tries to log in, we're going to assign the token, yes. But for now, let's just leave this right here. And right here, let's just return a response, and this response will be a JSON response. And right here we can now say status is true, and right here we can now return the user $user. So this is just all we need to do. And now let's just try this and create this user now. So we've created this user successfully. You can see the user ID right here. And this is just all we need to do to actually create a user. So the next thing we can actually do is to actually get a user's information. So we're going to use the show method to actually do this. It's actually very simple. Let's just say user is equal to user find or fail, and this will be $user. And what we can now do is to return a response, and this is all we need to do. So if we should go ahead and grab this user ID right now, so this will be user and this will be 4, and we just have to like create this method. This will be a get method, and we need to create this route right now. So let's just go ahead and create this route, and this will be a get request actually. So let's just do this, and right here we have an ID for the user. So we're going to put our ID right here, and this will be the show. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and if we should try this again, so you can see we're getting the user's information right here. And if we should change the ID, I think we have a user with the ID of 2. So let's try this. You can see we're getting that user right here. So the next thing we can now do is to actually delete a user, because we can also delete a user from this place. So all we need to do is send a delete request, and this will be I think destroy. So let's see that this will be destroy. So right here we can now use the destroy method, and if we should go into this, we're going to grab the user first. So we're going to say $user is equal to user. This will be find or fail, just like we did, and this will be $user, and we're going to use the delete method. So this will delete the user from the database, and right here we can actually return a response. So let's just copy this, and if you don't want to keep copying this, you can just create a method and just call on the method every time you want to do that. And this will be message, and this will be user deleted, and right here we're going to remove this user right there. Yeah, and this is all we need to do. So whenever we call on the delete method now, we're going to actually delete this user. So let's just delete the user we just created. So this will be delete. Now user delete. So if we try to get this user right now, we're not going to get the user because we've deleted the user. So you can see we're having a not found, which is 404 message. So this is it, 404. So this is how to actually delete a user, and in the next video I'm going to show you how you can update or actually log in first before you update a user. So let's just go ahead, and I'll see you next video for that.